Welcome back. Does that ever get old?
A little, yeah.
Yeah.
He's the man who never seems to age. The face that looks exactly the same. Whether it's 1995 in Clueless or 2023 on the Marvel red carpet. But behind that effortless smile lies a story far deeper than eternal youth. A story of quiet resilience, self-deprecating humor, and a refusal to let fame define him. In a world obsessed with power, scandal, and reinvention, Paul Rudd became famous for something entirely different: staying genuine. He's the everyman who turned awkwardness into charm and humility into superstardom. A man who conquered Hollywood not with arrogance, but with laughter. From a small-town theater kid in Kansas, to the sarcastic friend everyone loved in Friends, to Marvel's smallest, yet most relatable, hero, Ant-Man. How did Paul Rudd, the man who never chased the spotlight, end up shining brighter than anyone imagined? This is the untold journey of humor, heart, and humanity. The story of Paul Rudd, the man who never aged. Before Hollywood ever knew his name, Paul Stephen Rudd was just a curious boy growing up in the quiet suburbs of Kansas. Born in 1969 in Passaic, New Jersey, to British Jewish parents, Paul's childhood was marked by movement, both literal and emotional. His father, Michael, was a tour guide and former airline executive. His mother, Gloria, worked in television marketing. They weren't part of the glitz or glamour, but they taught Paul something far more valuable. Humor is survival. When Paul was 10, his family moved to Overland Park, Kansas, a world away from the bustling East Coast. There, surrounded by endless fields and small-town simplicity, Paul learned to stand out the only way he knew how: by making people laugh. He wasn't the biggest or the loudest, but he was the one who could make even the bullies smile. Friends remember him as the kid who'd turn any bad day into a joke. At home, comedy wasn't just entertainment. It was connection. Paul devoured Saturday Night Live sketches, memorized Monty Python lines, and dreamed of one day standing under bright lights. He didn't know how or when, but deep down, that Kansas boy already believed something extraordinary, that kindness and laughter could take him anywhere. When Paul Rudd left Kansas, he didn't carry fame or fortune. Just a suitcase, a notebook, and a dream that didn't quite make sense to anyone else. He studied theater at the University of Kansas, often performing in small, dusty college productions where half the audience were his classmates. But something about his timing, that effortless pause before a punchline, caught attention. Professors called it an instinct you can't teach. After graduation, Paul took the leap to New York City. Days were spent handing out flyers in Times Square, nights studying at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. He juggled rent, rejection, and ramen noodles, like so many dreamers before him. Then, in 1995, everything changed. A little teen comedy called Clueless was about to hit theaters, and Paul Rudd, cast as the charming and morally grounded Josh, had no idea the world was about to fall in love with him. The movie became a generational phenomenon. Critics praised his wit and warmth, while fans adored his boyish smile. But more than that, Clueless introduced something rare in Hollywood: a leading man who didn't need arrogance to be attractive. Almost overnight, Paul Rudd went from theater hopeful to Hollywood's newest crush, and the world had just met the man whose charm would never fade. After Clueless, Paul Rudd could have easily faded into the endless crowd of 90s heartthrobs, charming for a moment, forgotten by the next. But instead, he built something rarer: a career that grew quietly, steadily, and on his own terms. Throughout the late 90s, he took unexpected turns: stage plays in London, guest roles on Friends, and quirky indie films that revealed a depth beyond comedy. He was never chasing fame. He was chasing truth in every role. Then came the 2000s, the era that defined him. Director Judd Apatow saw in Paul what Hollywood had missed: a natural, understated genius for humor. In Anchorman, The 40-Year-Old Virgin, and Knocked Up, Rudd became the unsung hero of modern comedy. the man who could steal a scene with just a glance, a sigh, or a perfectly awkward silence. Audiences didn't just laugh with him, they trusted him. He was the friend you'd grab a beer with, the guy who made life a little lighter. But Hollywood had one more surprise. In 2015, Marvel Studios announced something almost absurd. Paul Rudd, the laid-back, lovable comedian, would play Ant-Man. The internet laughed, then the world watched, and Rudd silenced every doubt with pure heart, humor, and humanity. Ant-Man became a global success, grossing over $500 million and introducing Marvel's most relatable hero. Rudd didn't just join the Marvel Universe, he humanized it. And when Avengers Endgame brought the saga to its climax, millions cheered as the once unlikely hero stood among legends. From a boy in Kansas to a man among gods, Paul Rudd had become Hollywood's quiet miracle. In a city built on controversy, Paul Rudd remained something of an anomaly, a star without a scandal. No arrests, no affairs, no viral meltdowns. To some, that made him boring. To others, it made him a mystery. Hollywood tabloids had little to chase, but critics began to whisper, "Is Paul Rudd too safe? Too kind to be interesting?" For a while that perception hurt. Throughout the 2000s, he was typecast as the nice guy, the comic sidekick who made others shine. While his peers landed darker, meatier roles, Paul's scripts kept circling back to lovable charm. But behind the laughter, there was quiet frustration. The desire to prove he could be more. Not just funny, not just likable, but real. He faced rejection after rejection for dramatic roles. Some studios said, "He doesn't have the edge." Others, "He's too clean, too kind." And yet that very kindness, the thing Hollywood dismissed, became his greatest rebellion. He refused to compromise who he was just to fit in. No rebranding, no scandals for attention. Instead, Paul Rudd let time do what no PR stunt could: reveal character. In an industry addicted to reinvention, he stayed steady. In a sea of headlines, he stayed silent. And in a place where most burn out, Paul Rudd somehow kept glowing. His struggle wasn't to survive Hollywood's chaos. It was to stay human inside it. Paul Rudd didn't reinvent himself with controversy. He did it with consistency. While others chased reinvention through chaos, Paul found his power in quiet evolution. When Marvel called, it wasn't just a career shift. It was vindication. The boy once told he was too kind for leading roles had become a superhero, not through muscles or anger, but through empathy. As Ant-Man, he wasn't the biggest or the strongest. He was the one who laughed, stumbled, and tried anyway, just like all of us, and audiences saw themselves in him. But fame didn't change Paul. Even at the height of success, he refused to play the Hollywood game. No entourage, no mansion tours, no chaos. He and his wife, Julie Yeager, live a quiet life in New York, raising their 2 children, walking the streets like any ordinary family. Between filming blockbusters, he helps run Camp Firefly, a nonprofit he co-founded to support kids with cancer and their families. In interviews, when asked how he handles fame, he always smiles and says, "By not thinking about it." That's Paul Rudd's secret. Not eternal youth, but eternal humility. He doesn't fight the passage of time. He embraces it with humor, grace, and gratitude. And maybe that's why he never seems to age. Because when your heart stays kind, the years simply can't catch you. After more than 3 decades in Hollywood, Paul Rudd remains one of its rarest treasures. A star untouched by ego, unshaken by time. He has never been the loudest voice in the room, nor the flashiest name on the poster. And yet somehow, he always steals the scene. His legacy isn't built on scandals, power moves, or billion-dollar contracts. It's built on something far more lasting: authenticity. To his fans, Paul Rudd isn't just the funny guy or the superhero. He's the proof that kindness can thrive in an industry built on competition. He's the reminder that fame doesn't have to corrupt. It can, in the right hands, illuminate. From the small-town boy who just wanted to make people laugh, to the man who made the world laugh with him. Paul Rudd's story is a gentle rebellion against Hollywood's noise. He didn't change to fit the world. He made the world adjust to his quiet kind of greatness. And in doing so, he left behind a truth that outlives every trend. Laughter never gets old, and neither does the man who gives it. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold journeys behind the stars of Hollywood.